Hello and welcome to episode 2, part 2 of the Holidays in the Sun podcast. I am your host, Miles Hoyle. Previously on episode 1, I spoke with Daniel Kahn of the Painted Bird, as well as the brothers Nazaroff, and also Ryan Lacey, the percussionist of Celtic group Gaelic Storm. For part 2 today, I'm going to continue to play some folk and world music from all over, and I'm bouncing off the walls to tell you that I have yet another wonderful set of guests that I'll be speaking with. My first guests are all the way from Lithuania, and they are called the Rakija Klezmer Orkestar. And then I'll be chatting with Annette Ezekiel Kogan, who plays accordion and sings in a klezmer and folk punk outfit in New York City called Golem. Up first, we're going to hear a song from a rather interesting collaboration between Romanian folk band Taraf Haidouks and a Macedonian brass band called the Kocani Orkestar. Here's one from their album Band of Gypsies 2.
Vinele și să mor. Am o boală în viața mea, să pun mâna la jarte și pe picior. Stop, că vinele și să mor. Bună dragă, servus dragă, ghețată n-avem dragă. Nu ți-o fac eu, nu ți-e dragă. Bună dragă, servus dragă. La 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 de scăpat din mâna mea. Să moară mama, să moară, dar nu ți-o-i fac și-o din seara. Și să moară de voi lăsa. Stop, de scăpat din mâna mea. Bună dragă, servus dragă, ghețată n-avem dragă. Cum ți-o fac eu, nu ți-e dragă. Bună dragă, servus dragă. Hai dita la 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 la. Hai dita la 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 la. De scăpat din mâna mea. Și să mor de nu ți-o fac, să stai cu cârpa la cap. Și să mor de voi lăsa. Stop, de scăpat din mâna mea. Bună dragă, servus dragă, ghețată n-avem dragă. Nu ți-o fac eu, nu ți-e dragă. Bună dragă, servus dragă. Hai dita la 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 la. Hai dita la 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 la.
In a moment, I'm going to speak with a couple of the members of the Rakija Klezmer Orkestar, but before I do, I thought it'd be fun to play something else Lithuanian on the show. Here is a folk group called Sadūnai with a lovely instrumental waltz. And now, before I speak with the Rakija Klezmer Orkestar, here's their song Hora, Waltz from Kaunas and Freilach. Hi, Mikas. Thanks so much for joining us on Holidays in the Sun.
Yeah.
Did I say that correctly? It is Mikas, right?
It's Mikas, yeah. And the accordion player is Darius.
Hello.
He's here with me.
Hi, Darius. It's always nice to have another accordion player on the show. Well, first things first, I wanted to ask you, how did the Rakija Klezmer Orkestar initially form? How did you guys get started?
Yeah, actually we started I think 4 years or about 4 years ago, but we started as a small, actually we were bigger. But I can tell you all the story if you want. It's not so long story, so.
Yes, please do.
So yeah, we were all studying in this Kaunas conservatory, all of us, and they needed some music for fourth graders end of studies, something. So Darius, the accordion player, is here, and he is actually almost the founder of all of the band. So he invited all of his friends to play some Balkan music in this play. So they played there and then started to play. Then I came along and we started to play all together this Balkan music. We were actually Rakija at the start. We changed our group name like 2 years ago or something to Rakija Klezmer Orkestar, when we started playing more klezmer music. So yeah, 4 years ago.
Wow. Tell us about your YouTube channel. You guys have some recordings posted up there. You do a version of an Amsterdam Klezmer Band song. You have a song where there's a music video as well for the Hora, Waltz from Kaunas and Freilach, the song we played earlier on the show. Tell us about your material. Is it strictly original or strictly traditional? Is it a mix? Tell us about what you guys are playing.
It's just folk music, so there's no such. We have a few songs that we created by ourselves, like 2 or 3. This Hora Waltz thing, it's actually a melody from that Darius found in a really old recording from Kaunas. The main melody was a waltz that was played by Jews in Kaunas. So this one is a Lithuania. We changed a bit the structure and everything, but the main melody and it's a Litvak music.
Oh, neat. So you revive some old material as well then.
Yeah, this is the Litvak. Yeah, we just interpreted, or something like that in English word.
So when you're doing something like that, like picking older material to redo it in your own group, how do you go about selecting these songs? What's your process like?
We try to search all the archives that we have here in Lithuania from these Litvak authentic recordings or notes or just people that remembers the melodies. Yeah, sometimes we just go through villages searching for some old Litvaks that still live there and speak to them. We try to ask if they remember any melodies. They sing something, then we record their singing, and then we try to play it ourselves and then make an old song of it. And we just search the internet for really old archives. We are really into this authentic stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of what makes you guys so interesting. Which kind of made me wonder how the Amsterdam Klezmer Band cover come about. I mean, that's That's not probably from archives. So
Yeah, and that's it. And yeah, of course, we have this Amsterdam Klezmer band cover that is really nice. And we started playing this song like really old time ago, and then we never did this rap thing there. We just had this melody used and something, but we decided it would be funny to make this all rap in Lithuanian, and we did it. So we have an Amsterdam Klezmer band cover, which they actually we were talking to them, which so they really liked it, this cover. So it's really nice to have this thing. I connect with them because they're like really inspiring us. So it's nice.
yeah, I know what you mean. That's actually how I first heard about you guys. I saw them repost that your version of their song, and I was like, wow, this is great. This is so interesting, and like, I know what you mean. I mean, it's kind of cool. I'm talking to you right now, so I mean, I definitely get, that would be neat that they would hit you up like that. Another thing I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if I failed to find it or if you're in the process of putting material out, but I was wondering if outside of your YouTube channel, if you have a record out or if there's one in the works.
No, at the moment we don't have any official like recordings or something. We just changed our group a bit. They're like they were 4 of us, now we are 6, and we really sound kind of different than in these recordings that you listen to. So we are planning to do a recording like as soon as possible, but it's not for us to choose. We have to we have to save some money for that and everything. So we are still waiting. I think we will start recording in this fall, or if not this fall, then spring. So it's coming.
Well, I certainly look forward to it when it does. Could you talk about your live shows? I understand you play a lot, but also that you kind of play all kinds of events, really, like weddings and private events and just music hall type shows. Tell us about what your shows are like.
It's really fun that Lithuanians invites a klezmer, a Jewish music group, to a Lithuanian wedding, and everyone is happy for that.
I can see why.
Yeah, so we play in lots of different places, like in gigs, and we played we had some concerts even in I don't know how it's in English. We have this in Vilnius and in Lithuanian cities. There are these gypsy ghettos or something. So we have this kind of a nice connection with Lithuanian gypsy people. So we played to them a few times. That was really fun because they're crazy good dancers. And we had some really fun. We even played in some this Lithuanian, I don't know how to say it. It's on an old place where a long time ago. Bunkeris. Sorry, I will talk Lithuanian to my friend.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Devintas kartas. Kaip paaiškinti?
Ten karas buvo fortas, o po to buvo...
So there was a fort when there was war. So now it's a place. Like a museum. So we played there, in an old war place. I don't know how to say that. So we played in lots of strange private events. So yeah, it's kind of funny that we play in lots of different places.
I was wondering, how do you guys get around? Do you ever have to fly out to your shows, or do you just rent a van? I mean, I understand that a majority of your shows are at least within Lithuania.
So yeah, we rent a van because there's lots of us. We are 6. So yeah, we always have this really funny trips on abroad because there are like 6 people in our group, and all of them are crazy in their way. So we have lots of adventures together.
Yeah, I can imagine 6 of you. So a lot of personalities in that van, huh? But I wanted to take advantage of your accordion player being around. I couldn't really help myself. I was wondering, what kind of accordions does he play? Like, what kind of gear is he using?
He's just telling that all kinds of. He uses 96 bass accordion, 120, and he plays in German accordions and Polish accordions. He's good at garmoshka also, really good.
Garmoshka? What's that?
Yeah, this.
It's Russian type of instrument, but it's playing. You can play and Lithuanian folk music and Russian folk music. It's very.
I think it's just called garmoshka.
Yes.
Oh, neat. Well, I will definitely have to look into that. We'll have to put some of that on a future episode. And tell me, what would be the best way for us to keep tabs on your upcoming recording and then any shows you're playing?
Yeah, our Facebook page is constantly updated. So if there's some news, we will write something on our Facebook page, and we will maybe do a sample or something to YouTube channel, to our YouTube channel. Yeah, they will be on a Ukrainian national this Independence Day, so they will. There's a small video recording of us playing for that event. We will try to congratulate Ukrainians. So we did this, so that's coming like in a few days. I don't know. I think in 2 or 3 days. So that's our newest thing that will come up. I think it will be on Facebook and YouTube.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that, and I'll be sure to repost it when you guys release that, because I'm definitely excited to see that too. Now, earlier you mentioned that there were 6 of you. I know there's only 2 of you here today, but could you go ahead and just kind of tell everybody about the whole lineup? Tell me about what everybody's doing and what projects they're involved with.
I can start from Darius. Darius is the accordion player of our band, the oldest member of the whole band. He also plays in this other Lithuanian band, Antikvariniai Kašpirovskio Dantys. Jis to paklausė. Antikvariniai Kašpirovskio Dantys. And that's it. And he's actually quite famous for his Lithuanian folk music. So yeah. Then there is our trumpet player, Skirmantas. He's just studying music in Kaunas Academy, and he's also, I think, he's from the start in the band also. He came up with Darius, so he's also the oldest member of our band. Then there's the clarinet player that joined us a year ago. Yeah, so he's a jazz clarinet player that studies music here in Vilnius. And then there's the trombone player Povilas. he's also studying here in Vilnius, classical music. He joined us like 3 years ago, I think. Then there's our tuba player. Our tuba player is newest in our band, Simonas. He wanted to come to this interview, but he got sick. And he's playing in lots of jazz and classical projects with contemporary music. He's studying. Actually, I'm a tuba player also, so here we are kind of colleagues with him. And then there's me. I'm the percussionist of the band and the drummer of the band, and I do some vocals in the band. So yeah, and I just play in random metal bands, and I'm a tuba player, and I study here tuba in Vilnius with Simonas.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on Holidays in the Sun. I really appreciate it, and I really love the music that you guys are putting out, and I'm really looking forward to your upcoming release when it does come out, and we'll certainly keep tabs on what you're doing. Thank you so much.
You too. It was nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you guys too. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again to Rakija Klezmer Orkestar for coming on Holidays in the Sun. Up next, this is Nuru, Kane with Wango.
Wango, Wango. Wango, Wango. Wango, Wanga, Wanga lady, oh, adu jingo. Wanga, 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 Wang masina. Wango, Wanga, Wanga lady, oh, adu jingo. Wanga, Wanga, Wang futa toro. Sadaka wayna la, jiwayna sama mam Bubakar. Man ma baxi mam ajuma jall di sama mamu ndey bu ma jur Adama Jallo di rakam. Mam yaay sa Jallo di seen mag nekk Yàlla xaare àjjana sama nijaay Abdou Jallo Bokar Ousmane Sène Bélé. Ñoo bokk nekk baay ku dem doon seen maam te Jallo jéeri ku fi namp jox sa morom mu naan waaye kuy nant namp Abdou Jallo yi mooy Boubacar kooku ñu tuddee Laaji Assane Kane. Nañu ñaan Yàlla di baax a baax a baax nañu ñaan Yàlla di baax a baax. Wango, Wanga, Wanga lady, Abdou Jingo. Wanga, Wanga, Wanga futa toro. Wango, Wanga, Wanga lady, oh, Abdou Jingo. Wanga, Wanga, Wanga futa toro. Wango, Wanga, Wanga lady, oh, Abdou Jingo. Wanga, 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 Wang masina. Sadaka wayna la, jiwayna sama mam Bubakar. Bubakar ya baax, yaa baax jël la baax, yaa baax baaxi baax, yaa baax baaxi baax, dégg na yoon mo doo xam. Ma ne di leen jaarama jaarama jaar 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 bu la jee yeklena, kuya yeklena. Wanga wanga, wanga wanga.
You just heard Nuru, Kane. Coming up shortly, I'll be speaking with Annette Ezekiel Kogan from the band Golem. But before I speak with her, we're going to be checking out a song by Great Big Sea. This is The Night Pat Murphy Died.
Oh, the night that Patty Murphy died is a night I'll never forget. Some of the boys got loaded drunk and they ain't got sober yet. As long as a bottle was passed around, every man was feeling gay. O'Leary came with the bagpipes and music for the play. That's how they showed their respect for Patty Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. And every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. As Mrs. Murphy sat in the corner pouring out her grief, Kelly and his gang came tearing down the street. They went into an empty room and a bottle of whiskey stole. They put the bottle with the corpse to keep that whiskey cold. That's how they showed their respect for Patty Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. And every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. About 2 o'clock in the morning, after emptying the jug, Doyle rose up the icebox lid to see poor Patty's mug. We stopped the clock so Mrs. Murphy couldn't tell the time, and at 2:15 we argued it was 9. That's how they showed their respect for Patty Murphy. That's how they showed our honor and our pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. And every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. On George Street outside Sundance Saloon. They all went in at 8:30 and staggered out at noon. They went up to the graveyard so holy and sublime. Found out when they got there they left the corpse behind. That's how they showed their respect for Patty Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and we winked at one another. When every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. That Patty Murphy died is a night I'll never forget. Some of the boys got loaded drunk and they ain't been sober yet. As long as the bottle was passed around, every man was feeling gay. O'Leary came with the bagpipes and music for the play. That's how they showed their respect for Patty Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. And every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Well, every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died.
In just a moment, we're going to speak with Annette Ezekiel Kogan, but before we do, I'm going to play you a track from her band Golem, and this is Chervona Ruta.
Ти признайся мені, звідки в тебе ті чари, я без тебе всі дні, опановні печалі, може десь у лісах, ти чазілля шукала, сонце руту знайшла, і мене зчарувала. Червону руту не шукай вечорами, ти у мене єдина, тільки ти. Твоя вина, czujecie wznach, u tym robach zelenych, po zabutych styżkach, ty приходиш до мене, і не треба нести мене квітку надії, бо давно вже ти увійшла в мої мрії. Червону руту не шукай вечорами, ти в мене єдина, тільки ти. Бо твоя врода, то є чистая вода, то є бистрая вода синіх.
Hello.
Hi, Annette. Thanks so much for coming on Holidays in the Sun. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you. So you're in Virginia, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I play accordion in a couple of groups as well, so I was pretty stoked for you to come on.
Oh, cool. What kind of music is it?
Well, one of the groups is Mosquito Cabaret, and that draws from like Eastern European folk a bit, and the other group's the Fighting Jamesons, and we do like Celtic punk, Irish rock type stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I love the name.
Oh, cool, thank you. I'll pass that along to Julian, our frontman. That was all his idea on that.
Definitely.
So, Annette, I understand you also play piano. Are you a multi-instrumentalist, or do you just do a piano and accordion? Or?
Yeah, I don't know if you could call me a multi-instrumentalist, because I went from piano to accordion because, you know, I had the piano keyboard, and so it wasn't that hard for me to go from one to the other. But I always I played classical piano growing up, but I always loved the accordion, the sound of it, and I was a dancer also growing up, and I did Ukrainian dancing, and we always had an accordion playing for the classes, and I love the sound, and so when I finally got an accordion, I was around 25, I think, 24. I think. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I got an accordion and then pretty much taught myself with some help from the man who sold it to me, who had this great accordion shop. He passed away a couple of years ago. But have you heard about the store May Squeeze and the guy who was this German guy? You haven't?
Well, I'm not sure. I think so. I saw this documentary that I think had him in it, but I'm not sure. It was Accordions Rising by Roberta Canto.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there isn't really a store anymore because he died 2 years ago, like very young, 50-something. But but he came here from Germany and started this accordion shop, and everyone thought it was so weird. It was just accordions, and he was this cool guy, and there was an article about him in the store in the New York Times, and my mother actually saw the article and gave it to me, and I was like, maybe this is finally my moment to get an accordion. And I went down there, and he sold me one and taught me how to play.
That's neat.
Yeah. You play the accordion, right?
Yes, I do. Annette, I'd like to sort of take like a walk through the history of Golem. Like, if we could go back to the beginning when you were just getting started. How'd you get the group started? Can you walk us through like the early days of the group?
Well, I was playing before that in a kind of punk, very loosely formatted klezmer punk band, and then that fell apart very quickly, and I wanted to start my own band. And I had this friend from high school, Aaron Diskin, from the Boston area, who was in New York playing hardcore bands. And I was just like, you want to try some Jewish music with me? And he's like, sure. So that's pretty much how it started, and then we got everyone else in the band kind of slowly. But basically, I called David Krakauer. Do you know who he is? He's a famous klezmer clarinetist. And he was running a series it was called Klezmer Brunch, and there was a band every Sunday in downtown New York. And I called them, I was like, can my band Golem play? And I didn't even really have a band at that point. And he gave me a gig a few months from then. And so I was like, okay, well, now I have to form a band. And that's kind of how it started. So that was, then we...
So it sounds like you work well under pressure.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Well, could you tell us about all your bandmates, basically? I understand everybody's kind of involved in other bands, and I was wondering, I even understand one member is in particular like an actor of some sorts, or could you tell us like about what Aaron Diskin's up to and what he's doing?
Yeah. Yeah, everyone is in multiple projects except me. This is my main thing. But Aaron Diskin is kind of, he's just an artist overall. He's a photographer, he's a musician, he's an actor, he does all kinds of avant-garde art stuff, and just his presence is entertaining. So he's definitely one of the biggest personalities in the band. But I think what makes the band special is everyone has kind of big personalities. So he's one, and he's the singer. And then there's Jeremy Brown, who is the violinist. And he started out as like a child prodigy, classical violinist, and then got into klezmer and all kinds of folk music. And now he plays in other Jewish music bands also. But he is a total shredder. I mean, it's just amazing what he can do on the violin. People ask us why we don't have guitar, and I just say, like, listen to him, So.
Yeah, don't need it.
Yeah, don't need it. And then we have Curtis Hasselbring on the trombone. When he came to us, he hadn't really done Eastern European music that much, but now he has played basically in all the Eastern European bands in New York a little bit, and he's actually well-known contemporary, like, not free jazz, but like contemporary composer. And he has other projects composing mainly. With a band called, his biggest project is called New Mellow Edwards. If you want to check that out. He has very interesting music, and he's definitely, like, he and I collaborate on songwriting a lot, and then we kind of bring it to the rest of the band. And then there is Taylor Burfrisman, who is the bass player, and he has been with me and Aaron since the beginning. Everyone else came on a little later. but he does also started with classical and jazz and does all kind of folk music, and he's especially interested in Latin music. So he could do pretty much anything, and just a great presence in the band. And then the last one is Tim Monahan, who's a drummer, also like a jazz-trained drummer from the new school, but it was really hard for me to find the perfect drummer because I needed someone who could rock and who could also like have the skills to be, do different things and be really versatile. So he turned out to be the perfect guy because he's a rock drummer who's also like super skilled in all kinds of other music. So I think that's it. And he's also in other rock bands. And he actually teaches music in New York City public schools also.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to kind of go through your discography a bit and start at the very beginning. And you had a self-titled EP back in 2001. Could you tell us about the songs in that and its creation a bit?
Yeah, I mean, that was our first recording. We wanted to record something, and we did it with, I don't know if you know the band The Walkmen, but one of the guys, Walter Martin, had a recording studio. So we went in there and did it, and it was only 5 songs. But I feel like when I listen to it now, like we've grown a lot, but in a way, we're still that same band who was doing. I mean, we had a change in violinist and drummer and horn player, and yet you can still hear that we're the same band that we were way back then.
Okay, cool. Well, I noticed it wasn't listed on your band's website, but and I was just wondering, why is that? Is it just because it's sold out, like out of print?
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah, that's just an oversight. We should list him on the website. And then we later toured with the Walkmen, so I mean, we have a great relationship. I think it's just because there's none of those EPs left, and I should put it on there though. You are correct. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, it was just curiosity. I noticed that I definitely tried to brush up on your discography, make sure there isn't anything I missed on or haven't known about. So it was a curiosity on my part. But then I was wondering about did you guys have demos before that?
No. Our first thing was we went into Walter Martin's studio and recorded. And then the next one called Liebesschmerzen was actually the DIY one. Like we did that the drummer at the time, whose name was Laura. Anyway, we did it in her apartment with her husband kind of helping record it. And Curtis was also a producer of that. So we did it like I did my accordion tracks in the bathroom. And we had like the whole apartment, yeah. Because that was like my ISO booth.
And is that one out of print as well, or I was just curious, like, or can people stream it at least?
Yeah, it's also out of print, and I don't know. It's so expensive to print more CDs, and no one really wants them. It's like physical CDs, so I haven't reprinted it. Yeah, I mean, you can find it on eBay, but yeah, it's out of print. Basically, if people want to track down those early things, they have to do some work, and that's fine with me, because I'm more interested in promoting the later ones.
Well, okay. I mean, I've heard of that before. I mean, it's just some other groups I've heard of that same situation where you feel like, certain material is really the focal point of what you're doing. So.
Right.
Speaking of the focal point, I was curious, like, do you guys view yourselves as klezmer? I noticed the group on your Facebook and things like that. You describe it as folk punk. So how do you feel about kind of how you would describe yourselves? Yeah,
so describing our genre was always the biggest problem for us in terms of our label and us. No one could say what we were, because we're not a klezmer band, we're not a rock band, we're not a punk band. But how to say what the heck are we? So I mean, basically it started out that I wanted to do traditional Jewish and Yiddish songs, the klezmer basically song repertoire, and not make it sound authentic. So make it sound like those songs were being written today. But I had no interest at the time in writing original music. I wanted to put our contemporary spin on these old tunes, whereas the rest of the klezmer bands at the time, for the most part, were trying to reproduce the sound and, play authentically, which is also, of course, a great goal to have, but I just, I wanted to do something different. And I figured there's all these great musicians already playing it authentically. What would I add to that? So, my thing was to, take it and make it contemporary sounding. So we have a rock drummer. We don't really worry about what the exact beat was, although we have we revere the tradition. It's not like we're going to take those songs and, I don't know, make them unrecognizable, Like, I feel like we have some loyalty to the original material, definitely.
Oh yeah, like putting your own spin on it.
Yeah. And that's also a fine line. Like, how much are you going to change the song? Before you take out its heart and soul? So, I mean, our process at the early days was that I would research and find original stuff, either from very old recordings or talking to people and interviewing. And I would never play the original source material for the band, because I wanted them not to be influenced by it. So I would just teach them the song my way, and then they would make up their own parts. So that's how we got something that was very different from the original, yet with the spirit kind of still coming through. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Well, so basically in the beginning you weren't really doing originals, but obviously later on your albums you were, and now it seems like from album to album it's kind of a mix of the things. So how do you go about maybe like choosing originals and covers and so forth?
At the beginning I was like, I have no interest in original material, zero. Why? Who cares? Who cares what I want to say? But then the more we played together, I don't know, like our sound that we had created was kind of so ingrained in us that we started doing original songs, and it still kind of felt like we were doing the same thing almost, although we're pushing forwards a bit. But gradually I became open, and everyone became open to doing original songs and kind of making some kind of Jewish music that is for today. So you can see in the progression of our albums that we have more and more original songs and fewer covers, even though we still try to have a couple covers every time.
In 2004, you guys put out a wonderful album called Homesick Songs, and it was on this label, Aeronaut Records, and I was wondering how it came about and what caused you guys to get on this label along with that record.
So that record was also pretty much self-released, and we just, we had a friend who had this label, Aeronaut, who was the official guy who put it out, but I mean, we did that all ourselves pretty much too, and self-financed and went into the studio, So the file after that, we were on the J-Dub record label, which was kind of like a real label experience. Aeronaut was more of a formality.
Okay, so Aeronaut was still more of a DIY thing.
Aeronaut basically put it on the radio list, and I don't know, it's just to have an official label, but it was self-released pretty much.
Right, and speaking of J-Dub Records, your next release in 2006, Fresh Off Boat, wonderful, fantastic album, and it had quite an amount of special guests on it. You had Lenny Kaye from the Patti Smith Group, bassist Mike Gordon from Fish, and you had Amanda Palmer from the Dresden Dolls, and kind of wondering how did this happen? How did you get all these special guests on this particular record? Because it seems suddenly, at least from the outside looking in, because before you didn't have these special guests listed on the album, and then when you get to this record, you did.
So for that album, after Homesick Songs, the record label J-Dub signed us. And they have since gone out of business, but at that time they were doing really well. They started Matis Yahoo and made him a huge star. You know him, right? I assume.
Oh yeah, of course, the reggae star.
Yeah. So they were like these two college kids, the J-Dub guys, and Matis Yahoo, whose name was Matthew at the time, was with them and knew them, and they got started and they created this project, and then somehow they made it took off, and he just became huge. And then they had this record label, and they were trying to repeat that, and they signed us, and we're like, what can we do to make you cross over basically to a bigger audience than just your niche audience? And they tried. It didn't really work, but we're still a niche. We never obviously got like Matis Yahoo. And it's not their fault. I think it's maybe like we just wanted to stick to what we do. But one of their ideas was to get like famous people on our record. So we wanted to do that without compromising our integrity. So it's all people that obviously we love. And Amanda Palmer is a friend. She went to the same high school with me and Aaron is friends with her, I should say. So that was a fun collaboration. We got her to sing one of the songs. And we opened for the Dresden Dolls a couple times at that point. And then, let's see. So Mike Gordon was a friend of the violinist Alicia Jo Rabins, who was our violinist for 8 years and then moved to Portland, Oregon, and she was great and fantastic. And she was friends with Mike Gordon because after Fish, he was like big on the bluegrass scene, and so was she. Like she met him at a bluegrass jam. So we never even saw him for the guest appearance. We just sent him the track, and he did his bass solo in his like studio wherever he was and sent it to us, and it was really cool.
That's neat. Just did it, send it right back.
Yeah, pretty awesome. And then Lenny Kaye, who is a legendary punk rocker with Patti Smith. So the producer of that album, Emery Dobbins, worked doing sound with Patti Smith. So he knew Lenny, and that's how that came through. And Lenny came into the studio with us, and he was like, I haven't heard this kind of music since my bar mitzvah. And he had a lot of fun with it, actually. Like he got what we were doing, and he was very cool. So that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, it's neat that you were able to bring them on.
Yeah, but then as you can see, like by the next album, we were like, forget the guest idea. That didn't work. So.
And I was also wondering, so like for the majority of records, or for at least Fresh Off Boat and the next one, Citizen Boris, what's your process in recording like? Do you guys track together or individually? Or do you go old school and analog, or do you track digitally? Like, do you use software like Pro Tools?
Yeah. So, it depends on the producer, but with those two records, Fresh Off Boat and Citizen Boris, were both with Emery Dobbins, and we did all Pro Tools, and we tracked everything with the drum and bass first, and then the violin and trombone laying on theirs, and then the vocals last. But by the time we were doing our next album, Tanz, which is the last one that we did, we were like, there's something it's just that way of tracking, one or two at a time, something gets lost. And what we really wanted to do for Tanz is track all together. And we finally found this producer, Tony Maimone, who's also a punk legend. And he he was like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but we found he has a studio, and we configured it so that we could all track together, even though we were isolated from each other. But we all tracked together. We did some of the vocals after, but some of the vocals were at that live take. And I think that's like the best album that has because a lot of people, they come to see us live and then they listen to the CDs and like, it's not the same live energy. But I mean, it's always going to be, a record, as I'm sure you know, it's always a different thing from a live show. It's a different piece of art, and you can't think like this is going to be the same exact thing as performing live. It's something totally different. But for the last album, Tons, we tried to replicate that energy as much as we could. And I think we came the closest there. But it's not that I don't like Fresh Off Boat and Citizen Boris. I do. It's just kind of a different process. So.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, it's a different animal.
Right. Yeah, and I think you just have to at a certain point you just have to relax. I mean, if you want to get you can take a video or a live, live feed of a live show. That's the only way to try to, and even that doesn't show because you're not there. It's a film or a recording. But if you're making an album, then you've got to relax and just let it be something different. So.
Yeah, okay, so Tans is the first one where you kind of went with this approach of trying to capture the live energy, so to speak, and then the record before that for Citizen Boris, I was wondering just a little bit about the process for that one.
I mean, I think that was the point where we started doing more originals with Citizen Boris than we had before. So that was the main difference then. And they also there was a constant struggle with the label that they wanted us to be more modern sounding, and they wanted to have us to have electronics, for instance. And it was just a little bit of a struggle with that. But then, we ended up doing pretty much our thing. That was that. So they tried to push us in other directions, and I think it was a good thing in a way that they were trying that, but it just didn't work for us. We wanted to do our thing, and then when we went off, when they went out of business, then we were kind of free to do what we wanted, and that's when we decided let's find a way to record live. Let's sound a little different. So.
Yeah, and J-Dub Records, sadly closed its doors in 2011. Would you say it was caused, just, by the times, downloading and streaming, or what was the cause as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I think it was mainly, financial reasons. And, look at the music industry in general, kind of labels are over, they say. And, but they had a niche. They had one huge success at the beginning, and then, they couldn't really sustain what they were doing without more huge things like that, which they never got. They had Balkan Beatbox, which is, we toured with them several times when we were with J-Dub, and it was a lot of fun, but also, it wasn't another Matis Yahoo thing. So, it was sad because they were doing a lot of innovative work and getting all these cool and different Jewish bands, but I guess they couldn't sustain it.
And then I noticed this on your Facebook. I've been really curious to ask you about this. Golem does, and I'm not sure if it's annual, but this show called The Fake Wedding, and it looks really interesting by the pictures. Can you tell us about that?
Not annual. Unfortunately, we've only done it twice, and it was 10 years apart. So we did it this past year in March, was our second one. And the first one was right before J-Dub signed us. So I think it was in 2004 or 5. But basically, so we do a lot of weddings. That's, how we make the most money in addition to our performances. We play a lot of weddings, and we actually consider it an art form in itself instead of a chore. because the Jewish, there's all these Jewish traditions, and like all this music is being played at a wedding in an organic way, like it's part of the event that's happening instead of just like on a stage, people watching. So I don't know. We like it. Anyway, so I had so we wanted to do, and we play a lot of fun covers, like of basically fun bands from, but not anything so contemporary, but like Motown and that kind of stuff. So we wanted to do, at some point, we're like, let's put on a show of us playing a wedding. And I had found out that it was this old tradition. There were a lot of Jewish hotels in the 1950s in the Catskill Mountains. And a lot of these hotels, you probably read about, I don't know if you read about this, but at the end of the summer, these hotels would have huge parties, and they would have it be a fake wedding where the bride and groom and a lot of the guests would be in drag. And like, someone pretending to be the rabbi, and it was just very funny, kind of like comedy. And then they would have a big party to end the summer with music and dancing. So I was like, that's what we should do. Let's do that. So we did that twice, and more than 10 years apart. And this one in March was even more over the top. And we had we did it in a rock club, and it was like decorated like a wedding venue, sort of. We had a real wedding cake that the trombonist's wife made, and we did a whole ceremony, and the bride was this guy, like this big guy wearing a wedding dress, and the groom was the bassist's very pregnant wife. So it was a lot of fun, and we played our covers, and we did the whole ceremony thing. So it was pretty wild.
Oh man, well, 10 years apart, I'm definitely gonna come to the next one while I have a chance.
Well, if it takes us another 10 years to do it.
Have you guys came out this way to Virginia on tour?
We played a wedding in Virginia last year, and we played a show in Richmond, Virginia, but that was a while ago, and that's probably not close to you.
Well, it's not bad. It's a couple hours away.
Yeah, but that was a while ago.
And does Golem have a new album in the works, like a tentative title, or is any update on like an upcoming release?
No, we're just like working on individual songs. Like we're just writing right now, basically. And we're playing in a klezmer festival on August 20th. Which is it's a klezmer festival in Westchester on August 20th, and then there's this really cool thing happening in Brooklyn in October. There's some festival of everything Golem. So there's like Golem art and Golem movies and Golem this and Golem that, and we are playing the opening night concert of that, and that's on October 21st and should be very cool.
Awesome. Well, also I was wondering about the label that you're on now, the label you signed to for Tans, Corazon. It's a Mexican label. How'd the shift to this label happen?
Yeah. Oh, so that's another story. We were invited to go play in Mexico City by a music critic at a major newspaper there. And it ended up being him kind of financing the whole thing and bringing us over. And we stayed in his apartment, and we had an amazing time. And I don't know, like I thought, how could the Mexicans with their rich musical tradition even, like, what are they even gonna like about our music or anything? But it was like such a warm reception, and it turned out there was this whole Eastern European music scene there. Even bigger than in the States. And so it was very exciting. I suggest that you somehow try to go there if you're playing that kind of music. And then, so this label, Discos Corazon, saw us there and found out about us, and they decided to sign us. And we've had concerts in Mexico City with like thousands of people, and they all know our lyrics. And it's the place where it's the most non-Jewish crowd that we've ever played it for. So it's very interesting in that way. So in a way, like our crossover appeal finally happened in Mexico, which is kind of just very strange and ironic in a funny way. Discos Corazon is a very famous world music label. They did the Buena Vista Social Club recordings in Cuba. So, and they were actually trying to branch out into a more rock kind of vein. And so we were perfect for them at the time. And that's how it went. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely a career highlight to come out on the stage in Mexico City and see like thousands of people, like Spanish speaking there, singing our Yiddish words.
Well, one thing I definitely wanted to ask you is, I wanted to ask, like, in your opinion, kind of like if you felt that Golem had a particular message that you were trying to convey, like just overall, not with any one particular song, but like an overall theme or message to Golem's music that you were trying to give to your audience.
Yeah, I think it has to do with Jewish strength. That like Eastern European Jews have been associated with the Holocaust and kind of defeat and weakness, and we wanted to play these songs, and these songs kind of disappeared along with World War II. Like it pretty much put an end to this kind of music. So we want to play it as a celebration of life and show that there was strength and that there still is strength, and play this music from a position of, of strength, basically. So that's kind of the deeper meaning, and kind of like a refusal to die, basically.
Well, I think that's wonderful, Annette, and I think you're certainly proving your point.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And I mean that very sincerely because, your group is one of the reasons I picked up accordion and wanted to learn, and I actually discovered your group around the time that I first started learning, so it's big inspiration, and I really appreciate it.
Aw, that means so much to me, seriously, like, that makes it all worth it when someone tells me that, like you, so thank you so much, really, seriously.
Well, it's really been a pleasure speaking with you. I really mean it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care, Annette.
Thank you. You too. All right. Bye.
Again, I want to thank Annette for taking the time out of her schedule to speak with us today. And before I wrap up this episode, we're going to check out one more song by Golem. This is their song, Odessa.
Deine Massen, die ich hab verbracht, weg doch der Beitrag nicht bei Nacht. Hier wird es, nimm mich in die Trippe, duschen kann mein der Welt als er die meint. Und der Fassade steht mir vor die Augen. Und der Hochwarte von der schwarzen Jahren. Auf der Welt das Gesicht, ich hab Buckel gehen. Der vierte Mädel, die am Zell ist der Knast. Und die Akista tippt das Kind so nicht sehen. Und sagt der Toilette und sagt, das ist meiner, das ist daher bist du mehr. Die gehen, die stehen, kraft, durch Stoff von mir. Deine Gassen, deine Massen, die ich hab verbracht. Das ist der weitere nicht bei Nacht.
Thank you for listening to Holidays in the Sun. This concludes this episode. Be sure to check out the Facebook page, like the page, check out the updates. You can find out about upcoming episodes. You can find out about older episodes, still stream older episodes. Episodes of older episodes. The first episode was on local music here in Norfolk, Virginia. That's available now on YouTube as well. It's on SoundCloud, it's on Stitcher, it's on the iTunes store. Part 1 of this episode on world music is available there as well, and so will this part of the episode as well. Coming up on the third episode soon, we'll be diving into hardcore punk.